Not gonna lie, Team Rocket were fantastic in this episode, especially since they weren't doing anything annoying.
Pokemon! 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 Pokemon!
Hello everyone, I'm Dustin Benzel, and welcome to another Pokemon XY&Z anime discussion. In this video, I'm going to do a review, synopsis of the episode that I watched, and then, of course, we'll move on to new stuff after that, and previews and everything of that nature. I'm going to hopefully make the synopsis and review a little bit shorter, so I can get into the other content and so I can discuss the other content as well. So let's jump right into this. Episode begins with Ash and company relaxing in an area surrounded by a forest. There is a stream or river nearby, and Bonnie begins singing to Puni-chan because I think Puni-chan was like tired, or it wasn't getting enough rest, or was worried a lot. So I guess that's what it was doing. So. And it's probably because of, like blue Zygarde core, so that's probably why. And about Bonnie singing will pertain one of my stray observations after the synopsis summary or whatever. So we'll just move on from there. Meanwhile, Team Rocket are contacting Mattery or Giovanni's secretary so they can talk to Giovanni personally. And I'm not really sure what I'm not sure what's being said. I haven't read any of anyone's translations of the episode, so I'm just going off my own assumption here. So don't take it as fact. So just take it as an assumption of that I'm reading. So what I'm assuming is they're talking to Giovanni about their roles within the actual episode, such as what's going on. How they're doing things for Team Rocket's sakes or whatever. So then, of course, I think of course, we see an image of Puni-chan. I'm not sure if I'll show you that image in particular, but they show Puni-chan to Giovanni, and Giovanni's like, a mysterious Pokemon. Well, go ahead and capture it, or something of that nature is at least what I'm assuming is being said. It is interesting to note, however, they don't actually say the name Puni-chan, which is pretty interesting because, every other time they're actually calling it Puni-chan or whatever. And I did mention here that even though they didn't mention the name Puni-chan, and there was that New Year's preview, I think Giovanni, a little bit of dialogue of Giovanni was translated then during the New Year's preview or something like that. So I think it was to capture the Pokemon or to go after it or something of that nature. Or at least I think that's what translations have said in regards to that scene from other sources outside of the episode. Like before the episode aired, I think there was dialogue translated of Giovanni that said to capture Pokemon. So then after they talk with Giovanni, they do this like Broadway scene kind of thing that's really awkward. I'm only going to show you Meowth, simply because it's the most uncomfortable one, especially with the eyelashes and hair, and of course Wobbuffets is even more uncomfortable, but just trying to limit the images here, so you'll see at least Meowth's image. So I think they're like talking about finding the twerps and obtaining Puni-chan so they can give it to the boss or whatever. So then, of course, after that, we get the opening, I believe. And then right after the opening, we get a cameo shot of Noibat and Hawlucha. And this is notable because Noibat's VA actually wasn't listed for the episode. So Noibat actually being in the episode was actually a surprise. Hawlucha shares the same VA as James, so that's not really much of a surprise, but Noibat definitely was, and I think I'll talk about this later in regards to Noibat's cameo in this particular episode later on in this particular video. So anyway, Pancham and Chespin, I believe they want to play with Puni-chan because they're like bothering it and poking it. I think that's what they were doing. And then Puni-chan got really upset and just decided to go away from them and like kind of like sleep in a rock that has the sunlight hitting it or something of that nature. So that, but then of course, it senses something is wrong with like blue Zygarde core. So then it gets a little worried. But then of course, Bonnie starts singing to Puni-chan again, and it falls back asleep. And then it cuts straight to blue Zygarde core facing against Aliana and Mable, and isn't doing too well as it is, even getting like shocked like Puni-chan in the Terminus Cave episode. Apparently being shocked prevents it from going invisible, as if that would really matter given that Aliana and Mable have those goggles or visors that Bryony and Celosia had in the Terminus Cave episode. So then, of course, Blue Zygarde core ends up turning in 10% form. Still a little disappointed that my theory turned out to be false, but, you know, it is what it is. So then, of course, it manages to use moves to get out of the way, like Dragon Pulse, Extreme Speed, Land's Wrath. And it's interesting that it's actually using more moves as 10% form than Puni-chan as 10% form. It's really interesting that it's interesting that Puni-chan 10% form has only ever used Land's Wrath. So I wonder if that has something to do with like the experiments of Puni-chan, and maybe it like disabled some of its powers or something like that. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe Puni-chan's powers was like emanating or whatever, and then that's what Chespin absorbed. Marin's Chespy, maybe that's what absorbed it, and maybe that's why Puni-chan isn't seemingly as strong as Blue Zygarde core. So maybe that'll be like a future scene where Puni-chan goes to the Chespin and absorbs the power, so it can actually help become Zygarde complete in the future. So I guess maybe we'll see if that's the case or whatever. So then, of course, it managed to escape, and then it runs into Team Rocket, who apparently are failing to find the twerps, I'm guessing, because it seems like they're looking for something. I'm assuming it's the twerps with Puni-chan, and then, of course, what ends up happening is they run into Blue Zygarde core. And I don't know if it was specifically said, but I do believe that they do notice the difference between the two forms, like Puni-chan and Blue Zygarde core, you know, and stuff. Wow, it's 8 minutes already. Jeez. So then, of course, Team Flare appear, and Team Rocket do their best to protect Blue Zygarde core. They manage to escape with it using like some sort of smoke machine attack or something of that nature. And of course, Mable and Aliana relay this to Xerosic and Lysander, and Xerosic is none too happy about this, like slamming the console he's in or console he's using or whatever. Not sure, but I think because of the way that the wording was, and maybe subconsciously I picked up a word that was like similar, like maybe Alon, but I do think that Lysander ordered Xerosic to get Alon to help Aliana and Mable. So yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. Like I keep saying, I don't speak Japanese. You know, I mean, I do pick up some words or something of that nature, but not enough to translate anything or whatever. But I think just the way that Lysander treated the scene or it sounded like he was ordering Xerosic to give more help to Aliana and Mable. So I'm assuming that maybe it was because he may have mentioned Alon that I didn't pick up at the time, but subconsciously I did, but I'm not really sure. So then, of course, we go back to Team Rocket sitting, and of course, Blue Zygarde core is weak and damaged, and Team Rocket are apparently aware that Zygarde core likes to sunbathe to restore its energy. So, of course, James does this like flat surface with sunlight going, and then of course it's absorbing energy, and then of course much faster than Ash and Company would ever do. Aliana and Mable show up almost instantly, like just so short. I mean, Ash and company trying to find Team Rocket sometimes is very difficult. Mabel and Aliana found Team Rocket like almost instantly, almost. So then another fight ensues, and of course during that fight it is clear that while Team Rocket are holding their own against Team Flare, Aliana and Mable, it's just that they just have superior Pokemon, and they are pretty much superior Pokemon trainers. You know, like using Metal Claw or something to get rid of the Leech Seed that was holding Druddigan, for example. So then, of course, Blue Zygarde Core is like, you know what, enough of this crap. Team Rocket are obviously not going to help me with this. So then it just instantly jumps straight into 50% form. And then, of course, we get this like quick scene of Puni-chan being worried because Z2, Blue Zygarde Core 2, actually became 50% form, and that's typically only used for emergency sakes or something of that nature, at least I'm assuming. So I do think the animators did an excellent job here showing that 50% form is a lot stronger than 10% form, especially with that three-headed Dragon Pulse that we got. And you'll see, of course, an image of that particular moment because it was really cool. In the forum, someone said, or even in the comments on YouTube, I think, or whatever, I think it was the forums where they said that it was like in relation to Ghidorah, which was, I believe, a three-headed monster from Godzilla or something like that. And, you know, that makes sense, but I also think it's because of the drastic difference. Imagine what Zygarde Complete's going to look like with that. So, anyway, then Alon shows up, and then, of course, he's battling against Zygarde with his Mega Charizard X, and it's clear that even though they seem to be equal, Zygarde 50% form is actually showing that it's still a legendary Pokemon because it does seem to overpower Mega Charizard X eventually, and it's like holding its own. Unfortunately, Aliana and Mable use their laser guns to stop 50% form, and then of course that energy saps Zygarde 50%'s form, and then it reverts down to Blue Zygarde Core. Team Rocket make a desperate attempt to save it, but then are quickly blasted off, and then of course Team Flare ends up capturing Z2 and Lysander, and Xerosic are thrilled. I assume Team Rocket relayed this information to Team or Giovanni because that's what we see. So maybe it's like a sign of Giovanni getting into the episode. So maybe we'll see Giovanni in the Kalos region, possibly. I guess we'll have to wait and see. And then, of course, it cuts to Puni-chan being extremely worried for Blue Zygarde Core, which is kind of a heartbreaking moment, but it can't really do anything at the moment. And, of course, Ash and company don't know what to do with it. So then, of course, it cuts to the very last scene of the episode, pretty much, of Lysander just staring and smiling at, of course, Blue Zygarde Core. So, yeah, like I said, it's a fantastic way to use Team Rocket in a not annoying fashion because they didn't bother Ash and company at all. They just didn't interact at all within this episode, and it was a really good episode probably because of that. And it's interesting that they managed to divert so much screen time away from Ash and company in a very kind of clever way. Because I say this because Puni-chan was that link to the other scene. It's why we were able to see the other scene. I mean, typically, I feel like there needs to be a reason why we see other scenes when we're dealing with something like Pokemon. You know, because there's like a main character that we're discussing, or maybe some little extra little bits like Aria and her Delphox talking to Yashio in the dance party episode. So it was very nice that they just didn't like say, oh, okay, so let's just cut to random Team Flare fighting against Puni-chan. I mean, granted, they didn't have to do that because they could have easily just done that, but it seemed like it was a nice way to actually connect it so that it makes sense that most of the bulk would be around Blue Zygarde core because of Puni-chan. So, and of course, as I said, as well, that it's just a great separate moment of Ash Company and Team Rocket, and it's like Team Rocket are actually tolerable and okay when they're not trying to capture a Pokemon. Now, of course, I made speculation in last week's episode about people who might have complaints of the previous episode. Alon didn't seem to recognize Team Rocket at all. I don't think he acknowledged them or whatever, but maybe he said something or whatever. But it did. I do believe Jesse at least recognized the Charizard, and maybe they did recognize the boy or something, like wondering what he's doing here. What's that boy with the lizard, with the Charizard doing here or whatever? So maybe there is that. So I can't wait for the follow-up Team Flare episode or plot going on now that Team Flare has Blue Zygarde core. I'm curious as to what the next one's going to be about. Maybe it'll be about trying to get Puni-chan from Ash and Company, and maybe that'll lead to Alon trying to get Puni-chan because the Team Flare scientists are just not strong enough to take on Ash and Company. Team Rocket, they're fine, but Ash and Company, they probably need a little bit more help, so maybe that'll be where we get like some very antagonistic scene, you know, Ash being heartbroken or crushed that this very strong trainer that he admired and respected not so many episodes ago suddenly is antagonistic and trying to steal Puni-chan or whatever. So I guess we'll have to see what's going on with that. So I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. So then, of course, we got some stray observations here. Just a couple. Bonnie singing. I bring this up and I'm not. It's not that I have a problem with it, but I just wonder why everyone was captivated by this. I mean, the Ash and the Pokemon there, Serena, Clement was like, oh yeah, yeah, my sister can sing or whatever. And the reason why it's just so weird is that we're hundreds of episodes in the series, and it seems like this is a surprise for everyone. And I feel like, I mean, Bonnie didn't sing at all in Off-Screen Land or in any other episode, so this is the one time that Bonnie is actually singing for the first time ever since they've been traveling together for so long. Well, at least I'm sure technically for so long. I mean, I doubt it was just a couple of days ago that they met in Lumio City and stuff, so I'm assuming that even though time doesn't exactly exist too much in Pokemon, they at least have to have been traveling for a while enough. So having Bonnie singing and surprising everyone and captivating everyone is kind of strange. Again, no problem, but I felt like it was just it felt like they were trying to give dialogue for the characters of Ash and Company, you know, because they weren't going to be the focal role of the episode. It was going to be primarily about Team Flare and Team Rocket. Ash and Company were going to have a minimal role, but hey, wait a minute, we can't completely snub them. So I felt like it was the only purpose was to give them some kind of minor role in the episode. So that's really like the only real problem that I have with it. But I don't exactly have a problem with it. It was just very weird. So anyway, while I do, so the second stray observation here is, while I do understand that this was an Aliana and Mable episode, I am surprised that that Bryony and Celosia apparently weren't even mentioned at all within the episode, or maybe they were, but we never saw them. I do think this is extremely weird because even in the Bryony and Celosia episodes, Aliana and Mable still did cameo within those particular episodes. So it's not like we actually got an episode where Aliana and Mable didn't appear, unless, of course, that was the Puni-chan Bonnie episode. Of course, Bryony and Celosia had like a minor role in that particular episode, so it's not like it's all that interesting. So maybe it's that kind of making up, and the fact that it's been primarily about Celosia and Bryony, and of course it could just be that maybe they're they're beating themselves up for letting Puni-chan get lost or something, because in the Bonnie and Puni-chan episode, Bryony and Slocia decided that Puni-chan wasn't going to return to the twerps or whatever, so I think they just gave up, and they're probably still wandering, trying to find it, and being confused. I am surprised, though, that there was no scene of Celosia and Bryony when Puni-chan was trying to contact Blue Zygarde Corps at the end, or even during the particular episode or whatever, that there was a detection, but maybe, of course, Bryony and Celosia weren't nearby. So I was going to mention, I think I did mention Zygarde Complete in a little bit or whatever. I said what it looked like for Zygarde Complete to actually have all its power or whatever. But I did make a noticeable mistake when I was making a note, so I wanted to save it more for this or whatever. 50%, holy crap, did so much in whatever it was. Its Land's Wrath, Extreme Speed, and Dragon Pulse was just much more, it was more impressive than in 10% form. Although I do think, I think 10% form, Extreme Speed, basically just add a head and a front paw and just like a green streak, maybe I misread that or whatever, but yeah, 50% form was amazing, so I can't wait to see what Zygarde Complete's going to look like. I say this in a joking but serious way. I kind of expect Zygarde Complete to have this like giant energy sword. Just saying that would be cool. But anyway, whatever. So that was pretty much the episode. Like I said, it was amazing, fantastic, and of course, as expected, this went longer than I wanted it to. So yeah, like I said, great Team Rocket episode. Like I said, this is probably going to be the best Team Rocket episode so far in the X, Y, and Z series, and we probably haven't even got to other Team Rocket focused episodes or whatever. So let's move on to the Chestnut episode, shall we? So I showed you that image. I'm not really sure it showed up in the preview, but I guess it really doesn't matter. Because I think the rest of the preview pretty much compensates for all of those things or whatever. So, of course, in the preview, I'm not sure if I'm going to show you all these scenes, but I'm going to tell you the most notable ones. Of course, so we got the first scene, of course, was Clement almost passing out or whatever. And then, of course, we see Robon the robot. At least I think that's what it's called, is Robon. I don't know if it's still a typo or something or whatever, but I'm assuming that green thing is Robon. So then, of course, after that happens, we see Chestnut, and it's apparently attacking Ash and company. Apparently, Chestnut thinks that that Ash and company are trying to destroy the Robon or the robot or whatever that's trying to plant the trees or something like that. So then, of course, we see the gang helping out this robot this Robon robot, and then of course we see this boy inventor that looks a little bit younger than Clement, and then of course we see this old man. They have names in the VA list, but I can't really remember what they are. I think Hiro is the little boy, and Ichigo or whatever is the old man, but I'm not entirely sure. So then of course we also see Greninja appearing, and then of course Team Rocket appear, and then we see Robon protecting Chestnut. There is this cool scene of a beat up the robot that we see within this episode is blocking Chestnut or whatever. So then of course basically it's just a robot being protected. So this episode just basically is just a robot being protected by Chestnut while this robot is trying to plant trees in a barren field. So maybe we'll get something like Puni-chan using its ability, and maybe that'll bring up some questions about Puni-chan for Ash and company or something like that. So it's not entirely filler, even though this is Clement-centric related or whatever. But I'm not really expecting all that much. I'm just expecting Chestnut to think Ash and company are evil or something like that, and then of course Hiro or Ichigo or whatever get involved, and they're the real true brains behind the operation. of making this barren field more like foliage with trees and grass and stuff. So then, of course, Team Rocket attack, and then maybe they like figure out something, and then trees start growing. Everyone's happy, la di da di da. Clement will of course use his science or whatever. So I think it'll be an okay Clement focus episode, not one of the better ones though. Probably I can't think of all of the Clement centric episodes, but maybe the worst. It'll probably end up being the worst Clement-centric episode, but I also think it'll be okay enough of a decent episode. I do think it's going to be filler, maybe Chespin, Bunnelby, or Luxray will learn a new move, but even then I still think it'll still be pretty fillerish because, Pokemon have appeared in the anime just randomly knowing moves and stuff, like Holuchin X Scissor. We didn't exactly see Hawlucha learn X Scissor, just showed up. So it's like we actually did skip the episode where Hawlucha did learn X Scissor. So that's pretty much that particular episode. So we're gonna move on to the rest of the episodes that we got. We got some new summaries or whatever. No more new images. That image of Chestnut for the Chestnut episode was the only image we got. It was just mostly summaries. And then, of course, we have a new title, which I will talk about it. And, of course, so then, of course, I'm going to talk about the Master Class episode. Basically, paraphrasing the summaries that we got was, Serena has reached Phrase City for her Pokemon Showcase, meets popular in-city favorite Amelia with a distinguished family. So she's very popular and well-known within the city, and she's one of the city's favorite to become Kalos Queen, basically. So, and it also says that Amelia is classified as a strong rival. And the interesting thing to know, in the Dance Party translations have come out for that, and it's said that Miette was looking forward to doing the showcase against Serena, implying Frey City or whatever. But so far, we haven't seen any information about Miette showing up within the episode. We may have to wait until next Wednesday when we'll get VA list for this particular... Oh, speaking of which... Oh, I totally forgot. Sorry. Going back to the Chestnut episode, Noibat is listed within the episode as well as Sylveon. The reason why I wanted to bring this up, and I totally forgot, was because of the cameo that Noibat appeared in the Team Rocket, Team Flare episode. It was just a quick cameo and it was nothing more. I feel like they're doing this gearing up for Noibat to eventually evolve into Noivern, which will happen after the Masterclass trial. So yeah, I just totally forgot about that. So anyway, back to the Masterclass trial. We don't know if Miette's going to actually be in the particular episode or not, and it seems weird that they were going to meet up at Free City and have a Pokemon showcase with each other, but of course they're throwing this Amelia trainer within it, so it is a little weird. I'm not really expecting Serena to win here. It depends on whether or not the Sylveon / Delphox episodes that we know about that don't have titles yet are relating to Pokemon showcases. So if they are, then I expect Serena to lose in this one, and potentially Yashio will probably appear, and maybe we'll get that scene. Okay, so that's that particular episode, so we'll move on to Noivern and Zapdos. So paraphrasing all the summaries together, we get this festival where there are like thunderstorms or lightning going on, so Ash and company go to a cave to get away from everything. And they run into this injured rescue worker who was supposed to bring medicine to children or whatever, so Ash decides to go in his place. But then the moment that he runs out of a cave, he runs into an angry Zapdos. And I think that's when the main episode will begin, with Noibat and potentially evolving to save everyone. and evolving into Noivern so that Ash can potentially fly Noivern, which would be interesting, so that maybe he can get to the next city, which would actually be pretty cool. I would enjoy Noivern existing and flying Ash to wherever he needs to go. You know, that would be really cool. I mean, I think we've kind of got like in DP, in Diamond and Pearl, when Gligar evolves into Gliscor, Ash used Gliscor as like a hang glider like Pokemon or something, and I think even Ash did this with Hawlucha at some point in 6th Gen. I don't know if it was the Hoopa movie, or not the Hoopa movie, the Diancie movie, or maybe even just another episode where I think he used Hawlucha to glide and fly places or whatever, but it'll actually be cool since Noivern is taller and potentially could carry the weight of Ash. Maybe Ash will fly Noivern, kind of like how Ash could fly like Charizard, you know. So maybe we'll get something cool like that. So that's what I expect in that particular episode. So right now, just quick speculations on it. I will, of course, go more into detail when we get more information, maybe even previews or whatever. So anyway, so then we finally go into the new title that we have so far. We don't have a summary as far as I'm aware. Last time I checked, we didn't have a summary, and it was just a title. And it's Left and Right, the Indecisive Binacle. And here I'm going to tell you what the episode's going to be about. I've seen the future, and this is what it's going to be. Ash and company are going to be walking along, and they're going to run into a binacle that's in a crossroads situation. It'll either have to choose to go left, or it'll choose to go right. So the episode will primarily revolve around that. You know, Ash and Clement will go their separate ways to see if whatever path is right for Binacle, but the entire episode will be about Binacle, Ash and company being at this crossroad. So then, of course, Team Rocket are going to appear. Binacle is going to blast them off, and then, of course, there's going to be this scene or whatever where Binacle either separates or it's going to produce or it's going to pick a particular path, and then as it's like hopping around, as it chose its option or whatever, Ash, Clement, and everyone's going to stare at each other, and they're going to say, did we just waste an entire episode of Pokemon just trying to help a Binacle choose which way to go? Yeah, that's totally what's going to be the episode about. No, I'm hoping it'll be more comprehensive than that. Who knows? Maybe it'll run into these Pokemon, and then Ash can send out like Noivern and Greninja and Hawlucha and Talonflame and battle these Pokemon while protecting Binacle or something as it goes on its merry way. Or maybe James will be like, oh, hey, that thing looks kind of cool. Hey, and then throws a Pokeball at it and captures it. I don't know. Until we get a summary, I'm not really sure. But if we get a Crossroad in the summary, you know that's what the whole entire episode is going to be about. So I think that's pretty much it. I think after the Binacle episode is the Sylveon episode, then the Delphox episode, and then the Buneary episode. We have nothing more to say about that. I think I've already said all that I can say about that. Maybe I can think of new speculations for that, but I'm going to wait until another video. So I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I have to say about everything. So anyway, thank you for watching. I'm Dustin Benzel, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.